Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zena Such, Assistant Administrator of SBA's Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Civil Rights. I want to welcome you to another SBA Elevating Small Business Series event. This webinar is being recorded and available to you within a couple of days. Today, we're celebrating National Disability Employment Awareness Month. This year's theme, America's Recovery, Powered by Inclusion, reflects the importance of ensuring that people with disabilities have full access to employment and community involvement during the national recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. It is my honor to moderate today's panel discussion, and we thank you for joining. Having worked in numerous government-wide functions related to recruitment, policy and outreach, veteran services, diversity and inclusion, I have seen firsthand the importance of creating inclusive opportunities for individuals and small businesses. While I carry out the civil rights responsibility under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, I am also responsible for responding to President Biden's executive order on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. This helps to ensure that the SBA's efforts on matters of diversity, inclusion, and accessibility are carried out. As I continue to focus on safeguarding an inclusive workplace, it is crucial that we foster inclusivity in the small businesses that we serve. The service-disabled small business owners we've assembled today exemplify the resilience and ingenuity found in many small companies across the nation. In the face of this global pandemic and out of necessity, they have learned to pivot to keep their doors open and their employees on the payroll. But before we get into our discussion, let me share a few related facts and figures about disability employment with you, as reported from the Department of Labor's 2020 data. Half of all persons with disability were age 65 and over, about 3 times larger than the share for those with no disabilities. Across all age groups, persons with disabilities were much less likely to be employed than those with no disabilities. Across all educational attainment groups, unemployment rates for persons with a disability were higher than those for persons without a disability. In 2020, 29% of workers with a disability were employed part-time, compared with 16% of those with no disability. Employed persons with a disability were more likely to be self-employed than those with no disability. And when we think about employment, the employment population ratio, that is the percentage of the population that is employed for persons with a disability, decreased from 19.3% in 2019 to 17.9% in 2020. The ratio for those without a disability at 61.8% also decreased over the year. However, across all age groups, persons with a disability were much less likely to be employed than those with no disability. Among persons aged 16 to 64, the employment population ratios fell in 2020 for both persons with a disability and persons without a disability to 29.1% and 70% respectively. The ratios for persons 65 and older with a disability, 6.9%, and without a disability, 22.2%. Both decreased over the year. Persons with a disability are less likely to have completed a bachelor's degree or higher than those with no disability. Among both groups, those who had attained higher levels of education were more likely to be employed than those who had attained less education. Across all levels of education in 2020, persons with a disability were much less likely to be employed than were their counterparts with no disability. Workers with a disability were more likely to be employed part-time than those with no disability, and among workers with a disability, 29% usually worked part-time in 2020, compared with the 16% of those without a disability. The proportion of workers with a disability who worked part-time for economic reasons was higher than their counterparts without a disability, 6% compared with 5%. These individuals were working part-time because their hours had been reduced or because they were not able to find full-time jobs. In 2020, persons with a disability were more likely to work in service occupations than those with no disability, 18% compared with 15.4%. Workers with a disability were also more likely than those with no disability to work in production, transportation, and material moving occupations. 14.9% compared with 12.2%. Persons with a disability were less likely to work in management, professional, and related occupations than those without a disability, 36.1% compared with 43.3%. The proportion of persons employed in government was slightly higher for persons with a disability than for persons without a disability in 2020, 14.6% compared with 13.9%. Those are a lot of numbers and a lot of facts and figures on disability employment in the United States, and you can actually look these up when you go to the Department of Labor's website. Now, let's meet our two panelists. As I call their names, I'll ask them each to give us a brief 3 to 4 minute overview of their business. We'll start with Alicia Hernandez, CEO of DAP Construction Management in Phoenix, Arizona. Alicia, tell us a little bit about your business.
Thank you for inviting me to speak on the panel. My background, I come from a family of military. I don't know why, but I'm hearing an echo. I'll continue. I come back from a lineage of military families, and I myself was a regular Army veteran, participated in the Persian Gulf War, Bronze Star, Airborne. I hold a master's in architecture as well as LEED certified. I own a construction company that I started 12 years ago, and I'm the qualifying party for both the horizontal as well as the vertical contract licensures, if you will. We're currently grossing over the 12 years about 90 million. We've been in 16 different states. And I will tell you, my story is Shivani Dubey, with the director of the Small Business Administration. I met her while I was vetting another company's 8 company. And she sat me down and said, "Why are you doing this? Why aren't you having your own business and doing this for yourself?" So I thought about it that evening, and literally I went back the next day and started my own business. So it just shows you that if you have, different pillars of knowledge behind you to support you and convince, not only did she convince me, but she gave me the confidence that I could do it. And there's nothing I won't do for the SBA, because literally I'm one of those stories, and I'm an 80% service disabled PTSD veteran. I have a 70-pound dog that goes with me everywhere. So I literally show my disability wherever I go, but that didn't stop me. So if out of anything, I can just tell you that if you reach out to the SBA, they are there for knowledge and to help us grow, and that's my story.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I love that you said, why not me? Why don't I do this? And to have that confidence and the support that you talk about is so vital for anyone who's thinking of starting their own business. So congratulations, that's great. I'd like to move to Tomas Santos Alejandro, CEO of Advent Services in Panama City, Florida. Tomas, can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, thank you for having me. First of all, just like Alicia, I have come back from a military background. I had the honor to serve both in the Army as an Army reservist for 5 years, and then I became a naval officer. I did that for 10 years. I was in the field of cryptology. After that, I joined the contracting world, and it was there when I saw just how that entire world ran. I decided, I'm better off on my own. So I took my skills and knowledge. I was fortunate to be able to get a master's degree while I was in the Navy. I have a dual master's degree in software engineering and computer science. And I decided to apply those skills, for myself and my family. So we started a business. And I say we because, it takes two. Actually, it's just me and my wife. And we've been doing that. We've been doing that now for 5 years. we absolutely love it. We've got so much help from the SBA, not just financially, but also, in the areas of training and developing our knowledge. We were lucky enough to apply for the 8A program and got accepted. We'll be starting our third year in April. It's actually being a game-changing certification for us. It's opened so many doors. We won now a couple of contracts on their 8A, but more importantly, the network that we've been able to develop. The prime contractors actually now answer our phone calls. Imagine that. But like Alicia, I have nothing but good things to say about the SBA and all the wonderful things they've helped us with. That's sort of our story.
Tomas, thank you so much. I love the idea that you're actually saying it's not just me, it's we. And I know we just heard from Alicia too that you can't do anything by yourself in today's day, right? We always need some support. So thank you for sharing your business story with us. Now for our time today, I'd like to focus on discussions in two different topic areas. One is going to be the small business pivoting, and the other will be disability employment. So let's jump into our discussion, and panelists get ready. We're going to start with Alicia. I'm going to ask the first question, and I'd love to hear from both of you, but let's give Alicia the first dibs on the first question. The SBA has assisted millions, and you both have mentioned the support that you've received, and millions of small businesses with economic relief during the pandemic. Tell us about any federal aid you've received, whether it be the Paycheck Protection Program known as the PPP, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, also called EIDL, or any other help that has benefited your small business. Alicia, can you tell us a little bit about any of that help?
Yes, we were fortunate to receive the PPP. We didn't request it, but we did receive it, and I went ahead and took it because I wanted to ensure that I would not lose any of my employees, and I thought that at least it would be a hammock to have the money and to be able to sustain all my labor. And you know what? It was a blessing to have that again, the confidence to know that you have resources behind you and a reach back. So I was very appreciative, and it was nothing. I mean, Bank of America pretty much had everything set up through the SBA, and the SBA during the pandemic continually reached out to us and asked us what they could do for us. So I didn't participate in any other programs because I didn't really even need the PPP during the beginning, but we ended up using it a couple months later. So I was very fortunate.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that you used the word hammock, and I kind of think of like a safety net. Is that what you were talking about? A kind of like a safety net, even though you may not have needed it, you knew it was there to protect you and your employees.
Correct. At the very beginning, I didn't think I would need it, and you're right. It was a safety net that we ended up using it later down the road. And that's where I say that it was a hammock because I didn't think I would need it at the beginning. And you hear other businesses that were struggling, and I thought they needed it more than I did.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a wonderful story. Tomas, can you share any stories about how you have received some kind of federal aid, that whether it be PPP or EIDL or any other program that you might have applied to?
Absolutely. So our story is a little different. We did not apply for the PPP. Luckily for us, we're a small business, and most of our contracts are with DoD in areas that didn't get affected, in terms of the work being done. Right, we switched to remote working. That's how we basically pivot. For EIDL, we're still in the process of requesting that loan. I have used EIDL loans on another occasion. We were from Panama City, and in 2018, got hit by Hurricane Michael, Category 5 hurricane, and I just completely destroyed the office. At that point, the bases did shut down. and everybody was basically sent home. There was no remote working at that point, so it really helped us stay afloat for a good 5-6 months. And that's the reason why we're still here is because of that. It is because of that idle aid during Hurricane Michael that really helped us get through that rough spot and just survive.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Title, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. I don't know how many people know, but it's SBA in the Office of Disaster Assistance. We do offer assistance during disaster situations, be it tornadoes, hurricanes. And so I think, Tomas, that's what you're talking about, is it was during a hurricane. It may not have been COVID, but it's still a disaster. And so we're all happy that you survived. So congratulations on that. Tomas, you did talk about in your, when you were talking about your business, you did mention other types of services. So the second question is going to go to you first. So along with economic aid and funding assistance that you've received, what other types of support, whether it be from SBA or SBA resource partners, or from other help that might have helped you during this COVID-19 time?
I would say the biggest and most important, at least for us, is the 7J training program. So many topics, so many ways to receive that training. And it's not just designated for 8As, right? I mean, hub zones can participate, women-owned. So if you fall under that 7J category, that training is available to you. And it will be a mistake to not go through that training. Business development, operations management, you name it. We've also received help from the small business development groups, the SBDCs. They also provide just amazing training. And then, of course, our business opportunity specialist in our 8A program, which she is completely amazing, and is pointed out to all the training that is not necessarily provided by the SBA, but that is beneficial, to us regardless. And it's all free training. So that's the best part of it, right?
Yeah, thanks, Tomas. Yeah, the 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program does help, and it provides significant training for people who are either building or struggling. And from my understanding, it provides more than just startup. It helps you grow and develop. And I think that's something that the SBA is very proud of. And SBDCs, the Small Business Development Centers, are SBA resource partners, and they are all over the country. So having access in your local area is helpful as well. Thanks for sharing. Alicia, how about you? Are there any other types of assistance that you've received from the SBA that you'd like to highlight today?
Yes, it's interesting because I'm also an 8A, a hub zone, a service disabled veteran, and a woman-owned company. And it's Tomas kind of reminded me when I first started into my business, I used SCORES, and I don't remember the acronym, but they helped us do QuickBook training. Literally, we bought the program, and we were sitting with. They assigned us a gentleman, and they were literally showing us how to put in data. And then we kind of graduated to the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, and we started to receive other training from them. And it was stuff like from how to read the compliance clauses, how to do our subcontracts, how to do joint ventures. I did also participate in the J series training on different, and I still do today, on just keeping up with 8A compliance issues.
Thanks. Yeah, you mentioned SCORE and other types of what we call SBA resources that are out there. They're partners that partner with SBA, and they get that information out, and they provide a variety of different types of trainings. And I appreciate you mentioning that. And the 8A Business Development Program is really there to help small disadvantaged businesses. So I'm glad that you brought that up too. And that's a very good segue into our next question, which is, do you have any suggestions for other disabled-owned small business owners that may help them establish solid relationships with a lender, or even local resources that might exist for you? And I think I'll start with you, Alicia, since you kind of made that segue easy for me.
I use United Veterans. They've helped me from a personal as a service disabled veteran, but the VA has. I also was, when I first got into the exposure to the small businesses. At that time, the VA had just started. It's called Certified Veteran Enterprise, CVE program, to vet veteran-owned small businesses. And I believe our company was one of the first ones to receive the designation. But I utilized the VA to get that designation. And I believe it's also going to be in a year or two under the SBA. But literally, I always tell everybody and recommend PTAC. I mean, they're just the depth. If you go to them with any problem or any concerns or need any knowledge, they will literally get you to a source to help you in your business.
Thanks. So I think PTAC stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Program, and that's with the VA. Is that correct?
No, that's with the SBA.
Oh, okay. See, here I am, SBA, and still don't even know all of the different programs and services and resources that we provide. But thanks for sharing that. What about you, Tomas? Do you have any suggestions for other disabled-owned small businesses that may help them establish relationships with lenders or other agencies or other resources that you might encounter in your local area as well?
Yeah, and we're in a small area, so it's a little bit more, I won't say difficult, but it takes a little bit more work developing those networks, but it can be done. The first relationship I was always told to have was with a lender. We went through, we talked to separate lenders. We're a small business, so we wouldn't really give it the time of day. And then somebody mentioned talking to like a local lender. We actually approached a local federal credit union, and it's just been amazing. We're local, they're local, and they want to see us grow, so that's been tremendous for us. As far as the business networks, you have to get out there. Attend those local conferences, attend those local groups, and then use the people to then tap into their network. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for an intro. We certainly do that to this day. And be tactical about it. You can't do it all. You can't meet everybody. So just focus in the areas that you want to grow, and then develop those networks there. Nowadays with LinkedIn, all the virtual conferencing that's happening, it's a tremendous time for you to be able to grow that network. Soon enough, this pandemic will end. We'll go back to in-person meetings. And so you'll see some of those virtual meetings start to scale back. But if you have established those relationships now, then it should not be a big deal maintaining those relationships.
Thank you, Tomas. It's interesting. Almost everything comes down to building relationships, and it's all about that human factor, which I love talking about since I work in Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Civil Rights. It's all about extending yourself, asking for help when you need it, and asking for introductions. I love that you shared that, because again, we said it in the beginning, we can't do this all on our own, and we need each other. So I think that's one of the things SBA and the federal government is trying to do, is connect you all with the appropriate contacts that you might need. And thinking about, what you might need, our next question is really about, while you've been going through this COVID economy and seeing what's been happening, are there any types of programs that you think that the government should consider to help small businesses get through this, to get to the other side? Because we know COVID is it's a disaster. It's a different type of disaster, and we have to be agile, and we have to come up with ways in which we can help support our economy through small businesses. So any creative ideas or things that you would like to see the government explore in helping small businesses thrive? And I think I'll start with Tomas, since you were speaking last, and then I'll go to you, Alicia.
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple areas where, where the government has a lot of influence in terms of how small businesses can operate, in this economy, right? Financial, that's an amazing part, right? You have your idle loans. But part of that, I also believe, and this is just from personal experience, sometimes when you approach, those third-party lenders and you look for those small SBA loans, we didn't have a lot of luck with that. So I think I'd like to see the SBA, talk to these lenders and say, look, we have this program. This programs only work if you guys are willing to, help the small businesses. And then that's why the SBA is there, to make sure that, hey, these are good qualified businesses that need the help. So I'd like to see more of that. Another area is education. You guys, do a wonderful job, but I think, with the pandemic, this is sort of an unknown for a lot of folks. Maybe training that's a little bit more specific to that. There's a lot of questions with regards to, switching to a remote workforce and how long, will that take? What will it take financially? How long can we sustain it? Will this be a long-term thing, or are we going to go back to offices? There's a lot of anxiety out there with regards to that. So I think that will be that will be another great area. And then, part of another part would be, sort of like with the executive order that those that are coming out in terms of, asking the federal government to push more business towards small businesses. I know there's some programs out there. I think the Air Force is standing up this program where they're going to look locally at first and then go nationwide to try to, help those businesses that are around their community, especially, when you talk defense industrial base, we think of this as a huge thing, which it is, but to some of those bases, that DIB is certainly a local thing, right? So I think, I applaud the Air Force for doing that. And I think if the rest of the federal government would go to that same model, that would be a great help.
That's great feedback, Tomas. I really appreciate that. I think the word community is being looked at much more intensely right now. I know that SBA has been working on a community navigators program that will get information out to small businesses in areas that are underserved. And so I applaud that recommendation, and I think that the government really is looking at that. I know SBA is, so we're proud of that as well. Alicia, any ideas or thoughts about what government should consider to help small businesses get, and we use the phrase, get to the other side of the COVID economy?
I'm not sure what could get us to the other side of the COVID economy, but I know that from my business, and Tomas and I both have really different businesses, so how COVID has impacted our labor force. Since I'm a brick and mortar company, is for me it's more about the information. The other day we were on a SBA. We had our annual 8A conference where they do a touch point and give us updates, and we discussed COVID, and it was interesting because it's the information that we need to know. We've all been kind of confined, and it's knowing that we're doing the right things and trying to mitigate through different things that approach us as owners. And one of my concerns is with limited labor in construction is how do we ensure that we can continue to keep our labor force through the pandemic. So that's the only thing I'm looking for is to know that I'm being kept in that pipeline of information.
Thank you. Yeah, information and getting access to that information is so critical, especially when stress levels are going up and there's fear, and we don't know what's going to happen next. So that's very, very critical. Thank you. I'd like to move to the next question, and we'll start with you, Alicia. Have you made any adjustments to your small business over the past year, whether it be moving to an e-commerce system or any kind of changes? And if so, have you tapped into the expert advice from any SBA resource partner in doing this? And if you've tapped into other partners, we'd be happy to hear about that as well.
Yes, we have made changes. Initially, it's interesting because I was at a SBA-driven GSA conference literally the day before they announced for us to contain ourselves for those 2 weeks in I believe it was March. And we were very fortunate that everybody on my staff has laptop computers and Wi-Fi. So we literally had to shut down all our offices across the country, and everybody had to go to remote, and we had to learn Zoom. We had to learn Teams. Just like today, it's training people, guys out in the field who are brick and mortar and having to learn how to go inspect doors and use a computer to share what they're seeing on site so that we don't have too many people congregated. But in that, we've also, the PPE became a big issue where we were buying a lot of wipes, masks, the type of mask, and then currently the other issue is getting vaccinations. But we literally, with the exception of the brick and mortar out in the field, for the most part, things have kind of stayed the same. It's just finding the labor, because it seems like once the pandemic hit, that it was harder to find qualified labor. So what I've done, I mean, we've been very fortunate that with the SBA, they're constantly helping us connect. And the key word that you mentioned earlier is they provide us with connectivity with other people who, hey, you might reach out to this person. There's just such an array of depth that they've given me contacts to different other subcontractors that are in the local area, and we're all over. So sometimes the SBA will tell me, hey, go talk to this SBA. And that's the thing, is it's not just our SBA doesn't reach out to other SBAs because I'm in different states. So it's just that continuing communication, but the key is asking.
Yeah, you're making such a great point. Asking is key. If we can begin to ask for that help, we can find it and connect with other people. So I'm glad to hear that SBA does help with that connectivity. I think that's vital. And Tomas, how about you? Did you have to make any adjustments to your business over time, and how were you able to do that and tap into some expertise?
Yeah, and so for us, again, it's a little different because we're a services company. And luckily enough for us, the majority of the contracts that we hold were with the federal government, DoD specifically. And so, yes, we have to transition to more of a remote work type of setup, but it wasn't as difficult for us because we were a technology company, and so we sort of already do some remote work. It's just the big deal was, okay, if we're going to move to remote work, instead of doing 20% of the time, we're looking at 80-90% of the time. What does that mean in terms of for us in terms of contracts, right? So legally, what does that look like? And so we had to learn certain things that we did not expect to learn, but they're good to learn anyway. We switch a lot to so we took that time to then revise our internal processes. And so we made a lot of changes internally in terms of how we run the business internally, not necessarily how the employees perform. And so, although it might not sound like a pivot, it was a pivot for us because what we realized is, a lot of the processes that we do where we're in the office, really we need to conduct those processes from anywhere. And so we switched. I would say I don't have any systems left that support the running of the business that are not some sort of cloud type of system, just so that we have the ability to be able to perform and run the business, wherever we are, because employees have to be paid. That's number one priority: pay your employees, keep the employees happy. So that was sort of what our pivot looked like.
Tomas, thank you, and Alicia, thank you for part one. We really covered a lot of ground there, and we have some great ideas from you all with regard to how we can do better in the federal government to help support small businesses especially during COVID or any other kind of disaster. For the second part of our discussion today, I'd like to turn our attention to discussing the challenges around disability employment awareness. And you both are disability owners of small businesses. I don't think I said that correctly, so forgive me. But what are some of those challenges that you see when hiring, especially, is stagnant and many small businesses are struggling to find workers? How have you managed to either, obtain more workers or retain workers? Let's start with you, Alicia.
This question kind of takes me a little bit, because I look at myself first, because you're correct. I don't always see myself as disabled, though I walk around with the dog. But it's actually sharing with my employees my disability up front, and how I need them to help me to cover my disability so that we can have a successful business. When I look to hire, I look to hire the most qualified person. I'm not looking for gender or race, or I don't take disability into consideration. But what I will tell you I do take into consideration is veterans. So I do have preference. If I have two qualified candidates, I will give preference to a veteran. So regardless of whatever their disability and disclosure, we as a team, I get with them and we discuss it with our team, how we can support each other.
Yeah, that is so critical to be able to talk about whether it's a differing ability, which a lot of people are saying now, or whether it's a disability, and realizing that in an inclusive culture, we all come with differing abilities. And so how do we help support each other to make our businesses grow and stay strong? So I really appreciate that. What about you, Tomas? At a critical time when hiring seems to be stagnant and that so many small businesses are struggling, how do you manage to attract and then retain top-notch performers?
Yeah, and so for us, again, being in cybersecurity technology, it does present a challenge. We all know there's just not enough cybersecurity people out there, and so it really becomes a competition. Getting employees. So now you have to compete for the work, and then you have to compete for the employees. And so we try to, we try to give them, the best pay that we can. We provide benefits, but we also tell them, look, we're a small business, and so for us, it's almost a family. We're very open with, what the company looks like, and people seem to appreciate that. I'm totally in favor of a work-life balance, and that's some of the folks will tell you that's what I'm doing right now, right? So I'm talking to you from a hotel room because I'm on vacation. So I do believe in that, and so that's how we go about finding employees. However, I will tell you, we do not have any disabled employees. I'm service disabled veteran, so I guess we do have one. I'll be one, but. Just getting ready for this event, it just really opened my eyes to an entire pool of resources that we, at least us as a company, are not tapping into, and it's just really changed my mind with regards to how we see the disability or the disabled community, and I think there is a stigma that goes with with that term disability that unfortunately carries around. But if you think about it, a person that has a specific disability doesn't mean that they cannot do anything else. And so we as a company are going to make an effort to tap into those resources. because I think it's a very untapped resource with a lot of good qualified people that are just not being given the chance because they carry this one tag or title.
Thank you. One of the things that we do know is that when people are recruiting, the wider the net that you throw out there for recruitment, number one, the more diversity you have in that talent pool, which includes people will come to you with differing abilities and disabilities. And also you get, diversity in all other aspects as well. But since we're talking about people with disabilities and hiring, do you recognize the advantages of hiring people with disabilities? Is there a value that you see that comes from bringing people on board who have those differing abilities that maybe experience the world in a different way, see the world in a different way, to your organization? And I'd like to start with you, Alicia, because I know that you hire many veterans, and we know that there are many veterans who end up with disabilities due to their service. So I'd like for you to take the first shot at the answer here.
Yes, I think that just like myself, we are capable, and like I said, I rarely see myself as disabled, but when I look across the spectrum of some of my employees who are disabled, there's nothing to having full disclosure to work with people who add benefit to your company. I mean, at the end of the day, it's us working together and getting to a result. And I think that people who so with my disability, I feel that it's like an invisible wound. People are always asking me, what's wrong with you, or why do you have a dog? And when I tell them it's PTSD, then sometimes it's the debate of, is that really a symptom that should be diagnosed? But then I have employees that, do have disabilities that are visible. And I feel that people try to accommodate for them in ways that they don't want to be accommodated. And that's where the discussion comes in. How do we help each other, or what do we need to help you with? And it's something that we do early, because at the end of the day, we want to support each other and mitigate through any uncomfortable situations. So again, one of the things I try not to do, though, is I don't actively hire disabled people. I just give preference to veterans.
Yes, thank you. I think, a couple of things that were brought up. Tomas mentioned the stigma that comes along with saying I'm a person with a disability, and then you have people who have visible disabilities and then the hidden. And I think it would surprise many people to know how many people in the United States alone have hidden disabilities that they don't talk about or share. And we as a community need to pay attention to eradicating some of that stigma by making it easier to talk about whether it's visible or hidden disabilities. I know that for some people is very difficult. So I commend you, though, on what you're doing, even when you just go for veterans, looking for those that community. So thank you. Tomas, how about yourself? Do you recognize the advantages of hiring people that have those differing abilities or disabilities, and how that might impact your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we're around the federal government so much, so we're always in their buildings, and you see, people with disabilities, at those jobs, you can tell that there is a benefit to having people with disabilities work with you. I mean, they can perform just as well as anybody can. The big question then, becomes, at least as a small business, right? Like, how can I make that happen? There's some, issues in regards to, will it affect me financially? Will it, legally what am I supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do. But there certainly is an advantage. It's just, for at least for us, it's going to be a process of going through and figure out, okay, what does that look like for us? I mean, what are the things that we need to have in place in order to be able to bring folks like that, whether put them on contract out of a federal facility, whether it's bring them into the commercial work, maybe from home, bring them into the office. But definitely there is an advantage, and we plan on tapping on it.
Thank you, Tomas. And I love that you bring up things that make me kind of spark up, because you talk about, are there costs associated? And I think part of the resistance that we see maybe in hiring a person with a disability is, how much is it going to cost us? Because people ask for accommodations. It would be surprising to most how little an accommodation may cost. It could be something as simple as changing work hours or reducing how much travel they have to go in and out of the office. And those things cost nothing. As we know now, there are so many ways in which accommodations can be given without, making the company go under with costs. And just to throw out there are a couple of ways in which people can find, if they want to bring more people with disabilities into their businesses, definitely look at your State Department of Rehabilitative Services or Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and look at your local veterans organizations, because they do offer that kind of assistance to folks coming out of either a new disability that they just gained and they're trying to get back into the workplace. So do look at your states. They have those resources, and it's as simple as doing a search. So I encourage people to do that and look for those the diverse population that you need within your organization, because we do know research says that the more diverse your organization, the more higher productivity there is in that organization. The next question really is, does it typically cost more to hire people with disabilities? And and what about providing those workplace accommodations? And Alicia, can you speak a little bit to that? Do you have any experience, since you do have people on board that have disabilities? Is there an extra cost? Is there a stigma for you as an organization in bringing somebody who needs a reasonable accommodation?
Well, we're contractors, so if we've had to make any modifications like ramps or, there's ADA requirements, but we see it as an upgrade, so I don't see it as a cost at all. So I would say no, that we haven't really had any cost issues.
That's great. The fact that you just said it's an upgrade means the world to me. We have also known that things that have been put into place for people with disabilities have often helped people that do not have disabilities be able to be more productive. So that's a great point. One of the things that happens, and I'll move to this question because it has to do with unconscious bias in the hiring process. So any ideas on how we can overcome that unconscious bias in the hiring process and improve a company's disability inclusion efforts? So the topic is unconscious bias. Tomas, would you mind taking that?
No, not a problem. And so I think that one of the biggest ways is, as hiring managers, which as CEOs, company presidents, that's really what we are, right? With the ultimate word on when people get hired or not. Really should be more about, matching what needs to be done, with a person. All of us, to some extent, have some sort of unconscious bias, right? I'm a Hispanic male, so if I see a Hispanic last name, I might unconsciously give that a little bit more preference to that candidate than maybe another candidate, and then it's an unconscious thing. So if we take it down to the actual, specifics, and we say, look, we need a person to be able to do this. Over here, we have this candidate that can do this, right? Let's just look at that. Let's just not look at, whether, they're a certain race or they carry a certain last name. And and I will tell you, it is a difficult thing. And so there's a part of it that it's also personal. you as a person need to, keep that in mind and be aware of it. And then as a company leader, you need to then train your folks and talk to your folks about it and say, look, this could be an issue. First of all, let's accept the fact that to a certain extent, we all have that, but it should not have a reflection on the people that we hire or how we conduct ourselves. And awareness is always the first step in being able to deal with anything. And until we are aware of it, we're not going to be able to fully address it.
Thank you, Tomas. Self-awareness is key. Alicia, how about you? Any perspective on how to overcome potential unconscious bias towards people with disabilities in that hiring process?
Well, it's interesting because I was talking to one of my employees about being on this panel, and she said that she always felt that having children was a disability because she's late or there's always unexpected. And I was telling her, I said, with COVID though, I think that we're starting to look at the workforce a lot different. And we should take advantage of that and realize that we don't have to all be in the office. We can take advantage of, like Thomas says, computers and utilizing our technology to the advantage. And I think that sometime, or if we know, I don't know how much disclosure you have to disclose on disabilities, or if it's something that you tell them up front what you need. But I think that with technology and COVID, we should be able to tap that market a little bit more. Because I know there's a lot of veterans out there that they have appointments that they have to get to, and they say that that's why they can't maybe be in the office every day. But it's about flexibility as an employer and understanding your labor and understanding your employees to help them mitigate through anything.
Thank you, Alicia. I think that really resonates because Tomas, you even mentioned workplace flexibilities or workplace balance. And I think that is what we're all sort of seeing for the first time in a lot of cases across the country, where workplace flexibilities are good for everyone, not just people with disabilities. And I think that really helps in removing some of those barriers to employing a person with disabilities. And I think that, the more that organizations, especially small businesses and large corporations, can recognize the value of bringing people who have these different perspectives, different experiences, and experience the world around them differently, whether you're a person with a disability or without a disability, that perception or that perspective does bring so much value to an organization. I'd like to ask us to put up the disability resources that we can offer. There are 3 that we have listed here on this slide. The disability.gov is a comprehensive online resource. It's designed to provide people with disabilities with quick and easy access to disability-related information and programs. The second is askearn.org, helps small businesses recruit, hire, retain, and advance qualified people with disabilities. And then askjan.org is the job accommodation network that provides free expert advice on workplace accommodations that may be necessary to assist qualified individuals with disabilities in applying for a job and maximizing their productivity once on board. And I know that in corporations and organizations and federal government, the larger ones that I know of, we also have employee resource groups within your organization as a source of support. So with today's discussion, I just want to say how amazing this discussion has been. It has been absolutely fantastic. It has been my privilege to meet our panelists and moderate today's panel. It's a forum to help uplift disabled entrepreneurs in their quest to strengthen their businesses and grow jobs within their communities. So I want to thank you. I wanted to let our audience know that next month, our Elevating Small Business series will focus on veterans and veteran-owned small businesses. As always, our events are open to everyone, and I encourage you to join us next month for another stimulating discussion with real-world small business owners. Again, thanks to our fantastic panelists, Alicia Hernandez, CEO, BAP Construction Management in Phoenix, Arizona, Tomas Santos Alejandro, CEO, Advent Services in Panama City, Florida. For more information on our SBA programs and services, we invite you to visit www.sba.gov to get connected to one of our 68 local district offices or thousands of SBA resource partners. Lastly, I'd like to thank you, our audience, for spending time with us today, and we look forward to seeing you next month.